Boom. And we are live on a Friday. Normally, we do this stuff on a Wednesday, but somebody had a little cold. What is going on, guys? It's the Xbox 2 episode 28. I'm one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, and here with little sick Jezzy, Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, Jez?
Little sick Jezzy. I'm practically dying over here, mate. Thank you very much. And I've come here out of the goodness of my heart to entertain the people, the ex-people, and some PlayStation people in the chat.
Yeah.
And
the reason we didn't do it Wednesday.
Sorry if I cough. I apologize.
Yeah. Jez is sick, which is why we didn't do it Wednesday. He couldn't even talk. He was coughing so much. So we're like, yo, we gotta do it for the week. We gotta put the podcast out for the people. And Jez is like, let's do it on Friday. So here we are. Jez is sick. He needs all this, the chicken soup and alcohol that you can provide. Right? Because chicken soup and alcohol go together, right, Jez?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not a big fan of soup, Rand.
I mean, it depends on the soup. It depends. I like chicken soup. I like broccoli soup or whatever it's called. I'm not that. It all depends on the type that of soup it is. But were you trying to get a SoupyGate reference there, Jez?
SoupyGate?
SoupyGate.
I have no idea what that is. SoupyGate.
SoupyGate. Yeah, you heard about Resolution Gate, right?
No, it's SoupyGate.
Now it's SoupyGate.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a good show planned for everybody. We got a bunch of topics here to discuss, such as Cliffy B versus Microsoft. Is it true that people at Xbox were depressed and rejected? They felt those two emotions when Cliffy B was like, "Fam, I know I created Gears of War, but I'm taking my talents to PlayStation." Did Microsoft feel offended and rejected? We'll talk about that in a little bit. EA doing what EA does. They shut down Visceral Games. I mean, I don't know why anybody's really surprised. They basically do this to studios. They buy them. They suck out the life from them, and then they eventually discard the the carcass at the end. The Shadow of War face-off, the first of many from Digital Foundry that has sparked this SoupyGate. We're going to talk about all that stuff, as well as a bunch of stuff more. But first, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to the Analog Circle Podcast for dropping a super chat. Super chat's open if you guys want to ask any questions. We'll answer immediately and all that good stuff. You can sponsor their channel if you want to as well, although you don't have to. It's greatly appreciated if you do. So first off, Jez, you just posted your review of Shadow of War on Windows Central.
I did post my review of Shadow of War.
Tell the peeps what you thought about it at the end.
I thought Shadow of War really overstayed its welcome. When I played Shadow of Mordor, I did not sit there thinking, man, I wish I could do this again for an extra 30 hours. But that's basically what Shadow of War is. It's just the same game again, but longer. And the Fortress Nemesis system is not that interesting. It's basically exactly the same as the Nemesis system, except the orcs are in a fortress now. You run to the fortress, press down on the D-pad. That's how you capture the fortress. I was expecting like siege mechanics, breaking the walls down, and that sort of thing. But you can do some of those things, like break the walls down, but it's completely inconsequential. It's completely inconsequential. You can just run in with bad gear, with bad orcs, and just slash your way to kill the end boss. It's just super boring. Once you've done it once or twice, it's really boring, It's a solid game. It's a solid open world Ubisoft style game with the towers, capture the towers, get the collectibles, blah, blah, blah. Story's really cool, cinematic, and has really good acting and that sort of thing. But man, I just, by the end of Act 3, I was so done with the game. I was just so tired of it. And I did eventually get to the to the part where you have to just grind a million base defenses to get the true ending, and I just gave up. I was just like, no, I'm not going to do this grind. I'm not going to grind and grind and grind and grind just to get the true ending. I'm just going to leave it there and watch the ending on YouTube. And I doubt I'll play it ever again because I've killed enough orcs now for the rest of my life. It's a good game, but it's just.
Did you watch the ending? Did you watch the true ending on YouTube?
Not yet. No, I haven't.
I wanted to see if you thought it was worth grinding through the Shadow War, because Daniel in chat says he loves Shadow of War and he's having a blaze. I'm assuming he means blast. I'm having a blaze too.
If you're invested in the mechanics, then yeah, I mean, I can see it could be fun. If you enjoy doing that stuff over and over again, then fair enough, you know. But you know, if you don't enjoy doing it, then you're gonna hate it. And it's like I know in my review, if you enjoyed Shadow of War, you're gonna enjoy. If you enjoyed Shadow of Mordor, you're gonna enjoy Shadow of War because it's basically the same game. But if you if you feel like you had enough of that sort of gameplay, then you're gonna hate it. And I feel so fatigued with that style of open world game where it's just like the open world is just more like a playground or a sandbox, and there's just the collectibles to get, and there's towers to unlock, and blah blah blah. It's super repetitive, and they've done nothing to address the repetitive criticisms from Shadow of Mordor. And dude, Mad Max got absolutely slammed for being repetitive, but man, it's so much less repetitive than Shadow of War. So.
And someone just called me bald. You see that?
Yeah, I did. What a bastard.
Anyway. How dare they?
Yeah,
DJ
I mean, said it right, man. The Witcher 3 has totally ruined open world games for me because everything just feels bland compared to The Witcher 3 now. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, Shadow of Mordor had its repetitive moments too. I mean, like you said it best. It's basically a Ubisoft game, is it not? A lot of collectibles, a big open map, icons everywhere. It's always kind of like overwhelming. Like, oh, what do I do? It's basically, I mean, Shadow of Mordor is basically Assassin's Creed, right?
Yeah, it really is.
For the most part, but just Lord of the Rings. But I love Lord of the Rings. I love the story of Lord of the Rings, and everyone's told me that's played it that, you know, they're like, you're gonna love the story aspect of the game. But I'm waiting to play it on my X. You know, so I figured I needed some games to wait for the X. I'm playing Wolfenstein Day 1. I'm gonna hold off on Assassin's Creed for the X. I'm holding off on Shadow of War for the X.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back to Shadow of War on the X and play on Nemesis difficulty, because I think on Nemesis difficulty it might make the game more interesting, because you have to analyze the orcs' weaknesses maybe, and then plan your attacks and that sort of thing. But on normal difficulty, it's so easy. You don't even need to do any of that intel stuff. You just run in, slash everything. Everything dies because you're a god and you can't die. And if you do nearly die, you can just evade death anyway. It just feels too easy on normal. So I think if anyone's gonna go for Shadow of War, play on Nemesis difficulty and really get into the Nemesis system. Check out the difficulty on the different orcs and try and, you know, exploit them, because then I think it'll be a bit more interesting and dynamic. But on normal, did you ever play Prototype? That game Prototype?
Yeah, I played Prototype 1, played it for about 5 hours, hated it. I did play Prototype 2. Which I enjoyed a little bit more. But I mean, all these open world games are all basically similar. And I mean, I've been playing my own open world game, which we'll get to in a second. So would you recommend Shadow of War to people out there? I know 7 out of 10 is kind of looked down upon and score, you know, like it's 7. But I think a 7 is a good score, at least on my rating scale.
Well, the thing is, there's another open world game coming out very soon, which I think will probably be more interesting, high quality and more polished, and have more stuff to do. So I would wait to see how it stacks up against Assassin's Creed Origins before going to Shadow of War, and then maybe pick up Shadow of War when it's in a sale or something. War does have the Xbox Play Anywhere thing, but it depends if you're actually going to use that or not. So,
no.
If it was me, I mean, I've played Assassin's Creed Origins as well, but not. I haven't played Assassin's Creed Origins that much, and maybe Assassin's Creed Origins is just another big grind fest as well. But I think I would wait to if I wasn't getting these games as review copies, I would be waiting for Origins before getting Shadow of War. I think.
Interesting you brought up crossplay because Shannon Loftus had a Game Informer interview. Did you see that the other day?
I didn't.
Where she talked about crossplay because they asked her about the rumor that Xbox has no games, right?
The rumor.
They literally asked Shannon Loftus, like, yeah, so the rumor going around is Xbox has no games. And her response is like, I've heard that rumor. But she basically said what they found is with Xbox Play Anywhere is that Xbox people who buy it on Xbox who are console gamers might try it out on PC once and then go back to console, and PC gamers will try it on PC, will play it on PC, might try it out on console and go back to PC. I don't think there's much crossover there. I mean, she said a whole bunch of other stuff. Maybe we'll talk about some of the other stuff she said later in the show. But anything else besides Shadow of War this week? Are you getting ready, Jazz? I know you're getting the X. You put that tweet out a while ago. Are you getting a little excitement? It's gotta be showing up soon, right?
Yeah, man. The X. I'm hoping the X will be here next week, and then I can start reviewing it, ready for the embargo date. Reviewing a console because I've never reviewed a console before.
Yeah, how are you going to go about reviewing a console?
I'm going to be thinking about it from a value for money perspective, and because Windows Central is not a hardcore gaming website. A lot of the people on Windows Central who do like the Xbox are media enthusiasts and stuff like that, and I'm kind of interested in the Xbox as a media device as well as a gaming device. I look at it from every angle. I'm not just going to drop 5 out of 5 on it and just leave it done. I'm going to analyze whether it's a good, $500 is a lot of money. I'm going to look at it from that perspective. Would I have bought this console? If I was in my old job and I wasn't getting consoles for free, would I have bought this console? That's how I approach reviews and stuff. So we'll see, man. We'll see.
I know. It's exciting. We're almost there. Xbox One X is almost here. Anyways, so any other games? Just Shadow of War mostly. I know you've been kind of playing Evil Within 2, right?
Yeah, I've been playing I've been playing through Evil Within 1 again.
Oh, 1.
Yeah,
okay.
I wanted to recap the story before I went into 2, and me and my brother have been playing Evil Within 1, taking it in turns and that sort of thing. I think that game was underrated. There's when you play through a second time, you see loads of little hints and stuff that call back to the narrative of, I don't want to spoil it for those who don't know, but it's about psychology and subconsciousness and stuff like that. And there's loads of little hints throughout the game. It's like, if you're a David Lynch fan and you like Twin Peaks and stuff like that, it's a really great experience. It's the closest thing to a Lynchian video game I think that we've got, and I really like it, man. And it's been updated on Xbox One since I played last time. They've removed the black
bar, yep.
And the performance has been massively improved since I played it originally. So I really like the Evil Within friends, because there probably won't be a third one.
No, there probably will not be.
We'll see.
Unfortunately. All right. Well, I've been playing my own open world game this week, Jez.
Oh yeah, what you been playing?
Not one that I created, but my own. Horizon Zero Dawn.
All right.
The people voted. I put in a vote on Twitter. I was like, "Hey, what should I play next on PlayStation?" And the choices were between Horizon Zero Dawn, Ratchet and Clank, God of War 3, and Nier Automata. Right? Horizon won by landslide. I don't think even Nier Automata was number 2. I think like Ratchet and Clank was or something. But Jez wanted me to play Nier.
Japanese games.
What?
But Rand, everyone wants to play Japanese games. That's why Xbox is doing so poorly. It doesn't have Nier. That's what I heard.
So Jez was like, "You need to play Nier." A whole bunch of other people were like, "Play Nier, play Nier." But then a few people I trust came to me and said, "You're going to despise Nier, so don't play it." And I was like,
You're
"Okay."
not gonna despise Nier. Oh, maybe
So,
you will, because you like bad games. Like
excuse
Bob.
me, sir.
What? Sorry.
I like bad games. Excuse me, sir.
Sorry, that was just a cough. Sorry, man. Continue.
So I have been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm only a few hours into the game. I've been kind of busy this week, so I haven't really played much. I haven't even started South Park, although I'm going to knock out South Park this weekend. So my next 2 reviews on the channel will be for South Park and Horizon Zero Dawn. Hopefully I can have them both out by next week when, before Wolfenstein comes out. But Horizon Zero Dawn. So my first initial impressions are, oh my God, this game looks incredible. Absolutely stunning for an open world game to look how that game looks. Holy crap. Jazz, have you seen this game in motion?
Not with I've seen trailers and stuff, but it's Guerrilla Games, right? They usually they're known for really getting the most out of that system, right?
Yeah, I mean it does. Like it's the best looking open world game I've ever seen. And I mean when you compare it to what Uncharted's doing as a single player linear game versus that, holy crap. It looks incredible. It plays incredibly well too. I mean I love the dinosaur stuff. However, story seems to be kind of not very good. And some of the voice acting is pretty bad, and some of the facial animations aren't up to, I don't know. It hasn't captured me like Last of Us or Uncharted has, or even to be honest, like Until Dawn. We'll see how far they're.
I know very little about that game. I know very little about it because I don't know, because I don't know many people that have PlayStation, so I just don't know much about that game.
Am I your token PlayStation fan, buddy? I'm your token PlayStation buddy, huh?
You are. You're the only person I know who plays PlayStation games.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens when I get more into the game and I finish it, but it looks incredible on my 4K TV, even though I think it's checkerboarded 4K. I think it runs at checkerboarded 4K. There's 2 options. Favor resolution and favor performance, I think. I'm running favor performance because I want a better frame rate and things like that, right? So yeah. I kind of like games that do that, where they give you options. I'm a fan of options most of the time. All right. So, what do you want to talk about first, Jazz? I'll let you pick. What topic interests you?
I want to talk about first.
Oh, wait. Before, think about this for a second. But I also want to say the other game I have been playing, or at least I tried, was Candleman. Have you played Candleman?
That's the Chinese puzzle game where you play as a candle.
Yeah. So I mean, I originally played it when it came out, but they released free DLC yesterday.
Oh right.
That adds the actual true ending to the game, so an extra 3 levels, and the price is free, so it's free DLC, and adds 5 new achievements for 500 gamer score. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back to the Candleman, and it's pretty good. I enjoyed the DLC. I recommend if everybody out there who like Candleman, check out the DLC. It's free. But anyways, have you decided what do you want to talk about first? Cliffy B, EA, Shadow of War,
Let's talk about Cliffy B.
Clifford, the prodigal son. Man, he loves to open up his mouth and talk, doesn't he?
Yeah, he kind of put his foot in it this week, I would say.
Yeah. So, Cliffy, if you guys don't know, he used to work on Gears of War at Epic. He retired, as you do, and came back, opened up a new studio called Boss Key Studios. And they were going to make a new billion-dollar franchise called LawBreakers.
Billion-dollar franchise?
Oh, yeah. He went around all this past E3 and said, there's interview quotes with him. It's like, I went to Ubisoft, I went to Activision, I went to EA. I threw the book down on the table and says, I want to create the next billion-dollar franchise. And funny enough,
Ooh.
none of those publishers that he met with decided to publish his game. So yeah.
Ouch.
So he made LawBreakers. It came out at the beginning of August for $30. And well, it hasn't done so well. There was this big news where it only had 10 players on Steam. The PlayStation version isn't doing any better. So they're kind of scrambling to keep the game updated and fresh for its users, so they're not like pulling the plug on it, right? But he had this interview with GameSpot, and he said that they asked him about an Xbox version again, and he said that Microsoft must feel offended and rejected that LawBreakers wasn't on Xbox One at the beginning. And
did he actually say that?
Yes, it's in the interview because I read it. He actually said that.
But the thing is, Rand, I know that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, so do I, but
I've been told by multiple people that what actually happened was Cliffy B wanted a cash injection exclusivity. Sony said yes, and Microsoft said no, and it's that simple. So
well, I don't think it had to do with exclusivity. It's just Cliffy B wanted X amount of dollars to put the game on console. Sony, I mean, if Sony and Microsoft were both willing to pay for the game, it would be on both systems. But he wanted money up front because Cliffy B is all about money.
But that's not how it works. I mean, that's not how it works with other devs, is it?
Well, I'm not in the video game industry. I don't know how this shit works. But remember, this game was always a PC game.
Basically, they asked for money, and they said no, and that was it.
So, yeah, they asked for money, and Microsoft said no, walked away, and Sony signed it. Now, whatever Sony signed it for, they're probably not too happy because I doubt the game is sold that many copies on PlayStation to make their money back. But either way, I found it interesting that in my perfect scenario, or if this was me, if I was Clifford Blazinski, I would have just said, listen, we're not talking about an Xbox version now because I have to make this PC version and the PlayStation version as best as it can be. We're focused on updates. We're focused on doing this. We will talk about an Xbox version if we do one down the road, right? That's what you should have said because that would be a good statement. We're focused on the people playing the game now, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know if it's this constant need of being in the news and wanting to be talked about. Like, because he knows Microsoft doesn't feel offended and rejected, because Microsoft turned Cliffy down.
Can you imagine Phil Spencer feeling offended and rejected over a business decision? Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see Phil losing sleep over not getting LawBreakers.
It's just like, think about it. Like, Microsoft turned them down. They turned that game down, but yet they're offended and rejected. Look, and I didn't want the game. I know people said this in my video and stuff like that. Like, I don't want any game to fail. I want LawBreakers to succeed. We need more games to succeed. Because me and Jez, before the show, were talking about, the disappointing sales numbers of Evil Within 2 and Dishonored 2 and Prey. There's too many of these scenarios where, like, games don't do well. I want as many games as possible to do well. I want Cliffy B's LawBreakers to succeed. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But that doesn't mean he shouldn't stop trying. Of course he should. I mean, they just put out an update today to make the game, more attractive to more users. So maybe, possibly, LawBreakers can pull Rainbow Six Siege, where it's a game that was doing bad, is now one of the talks of the industry. Could it happen? Yeah, that could happen. Is it likely? No, it's not. But still, because you think about it like this, Jez. If you were in charge of Boss Key Studios, say you're the new CEO of Boss Key Studios, what would you do? What would you do?
My money, and I buy the new Surface Book 2 that just came out.
And then you would leave.
The first thing I do. and then I would leave. Yeah. But if I was gonna answer your question, however, I would probably switch to a free to play model as soon as possible, because nobody's buying after all the negative press and the sort of lack of confidence consumers have in that game. The only way they're going to be able to drum up any interest now is by going to free to play. And I think that's why Paladins has done so well, even though like people called it an Overwatch clone, blah blah blah, and there's been that whole debate over whether Paladins copied Overwatch or whether it's just a coincidence because Paladins was in development for longer, blah blah blah. But the thing is, can you imagine if Paladins had launched at premium price point? It would have got crushed into dust.
It would have.
So the only reason it got any traction was because it was free, and that's the only reason Fortnite Battle Royales got any traction is because it was free. It hasn't competed head on. It's gone for a different business model. And for LawBreakers, which I know, by the way, isn't a complete Overwatch, but that's the narrative. That's the narrative Battleborn struggled with, and Battleborn got crushed with the premium price tag as well. And by the time they switched it to free to play, they didn't call it free to play; they called it a trial. It was too late. It was too late for them. So if I was Cliffy B, I'd switch it to free to play as soon as possible, because no one's buying it anyway, and then patch in the assets for loot boxes later, maybe.
Well, I mean, they have loot box. Would you do it as soon as possible, or would you wait? Because I do it as soon as possible.
Because mindshare is important.
True, but also all the big games of the year are still yet to launch. If you do it as soon as possible, you got Wolfenstein and Assassin's Creed next week. You have Call of Duty the week after. You have Star Wars Battlefront right after that. I think you would want to wait. Yeah, I agree. You want to do free to play, but I think you target December. Maybe you target January, because if you go free to play against Call of Duty, nobody's going to care, and your game's free to play, and
But that's the thing. People who play free to play games care free. It's a different kind of market. So I think they should go to free to play today, right now, and because they won't be competing with anyone because it's free. And they're going to be targeting gamers who like free-to-play games.
So do you turn it into free-to-play on PlayStation as well?
Yeah, man.
What about Xbox? Do you go to Xbox, get down on your knees, bend the knee, and say, "Look, we want to put LawBreakers free-to-play on Xbox"?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
And as like beg Phil Spencer for forgiveness for saying such mean things as well. I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to do that well, because I don't think they're going to pivot to free to play fast enough. It's going to be another Battleborn, man. It's going to be a huge disaster, and Cliffy B is going to lose a lot of money, probably.
So you're the CEO, so you say you're going to continue to do updates. You're making it free to play as fast as possible. Do you task a team with making another game, like right now? Like your job is just go make another game, like right now, while we kind of work on LawBreakers, because I think that's what has to be done. Like, what?
You ask me what kind of game I would make?
No, I mean, like, would you task a team within Boss Key to go start prototyping a new game?
Hell no.
No.
That needs investment, I mean, where's that money coming from? Is Cliffy going to spend that money? I mean, who funded Boss Key Studios? You got to answer these questions too, because Boss Key spent a lot of money. I saw Boss Key at like multiple events, and they've had significant amount of marketing. For a little while, there were LawBreakers ads all over the internet. I was seeing them on ICXM, on my own website, and even on Windows Central, I was seeing LawBreakers ads that were coming through Google, and that is not cheap. That is not cheap to get those that ad space, and also they had a fairly big booth at E3, which ain't cheap at all. They've got a premium PR company on board, which also is not cheap. So they're spending a lot of money on marketing for LawBreakers for an indie. So it's I mean, that's kind of why I said they need to pivot as soon as possible, because money's bleeding away. And I mean, if Cliffy B is spending his own money to fund Boss Key, that's not good for him,
No, I mean, they do have a publisher. It is Nexon, so I'm assuming they injected some investment into it.
So I guess it's on Nexon then.
Maybe. I would think like, look, more than likely Lawbreakers is a complete and utter failure, right? Even if they spend all the time fine tuning the game and making it more accessible to more users and making it free to play. Like, dude, they and the game had health packs, right? Like you couldn't regen your health. They like
Yeah.
changed it in one of the updates so you can regen health, right? So they're trying to make it more attractive to casual players because the whole marketing behind it was, this is the Dark Souls. They literally said that this was the Dark Souls of shooters, right? This was the Dark Souls of shooters.
I hate that as a marketing tool, comparing it to Dark Souls to try and appeal to core gamers or hardcore gamers or whatever.
But I think what it did was it pushed away, casual shooter fans, right? So now they're making it more casual, which pisses off.
Overwatch doesn't have regenerate health. Oh, well, I suppose it's got healers, but it doesn't have personal regenerating health.
Yeah, but you've said the reason Overwatch is successful is because it got waifus and husbandos.
Oh, that's true. It's got waifus and husbandos.
But Lawbreakers has none of that.
What does Lawbreakers not have waifus?
I mean, the art's just so generic, man. Like, you can't... Like, in Overwatch, you could tell who the character is from across the map, right? They're very distinct.
Good point.
In Lawbreakers, when you look at a character from across the map, you have no clue who it is because they all look similar and they all move similar. So it's like, I don't know who that is.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah, they look like Unreal Tournament 3 skins.
Yeah. So to me, you still continue to update this game. You make it go to free to play, but I think you make it go to free to play in December, January. Because you try to get the best version as possible because you're only going to have one more shot at like getting users. But then you got to start making another game, man. Because if this doesn't work out, what then? Boss Q Studio shuts down, 70 people out of work. You got to have something for a potential, group of people to work for or work towards.
What's Turtle Rock doing now? Because Turtle Rock was in this situation with that game...
Evolve.
Evolve, yeah. God, I can't even remember what it was called. Now, they were in a similar situation because they went independent. They got a publisher in 2K. This, Evolve was a huge flop in a similar sort of way. What are they working on now?
I don't know. Are they still even open? Because they went free to play, and it had a big, huge increase on PC. And it was supposed to go free to play on Xbox and PlayStation, but it never did. They closed the servers down or some shit. I'm not sure. I don't even know if the studio's still open. Is it still open?
Turtle Rock announced the company is working on a new IP for Perfect World Entertainment.
Who's Perfect World Entertainment?
Perfect World Entertainment. They own Dungeons and Dragons Neverwinter, that MMO, that free-to-play MMO. So you can expect this next game to be free-to-play, probably. And also the Torchlight games. Oh, they also published Gigantic. But that also hasn't done that well. How's Gigantic doing on Steam? I'm getting sidetracked now. Sorry, guys.
Gigantic? I don't know.
To that game?
What did happen to that game? I finally released on Xbox, but does anybody even play it? Does anybody play that game anywhere, anyways?
I don't know. Audience CCU daily. But yeah, actually, it's doing better than Lawbreakers. It's
Jez, any game you do better than Lawbreakers. Come on now. What is that like? The poster child, like, well, you're doing better than the Lawbreakers at least.
It's not much of a pat on the back, is it? It's so Gigantic's got about 500 daily players on.
That's not bad.
On Steam, and it's sustaining, so it's not like it's going down. It seems to be sustaining. So that's pretty good.
Lawbreakers would kill for 500 daily players. Lawbreakers would kill for 100 daily players.
They should merge the servers for Gigantic and Steam on Xbox. That'd help it, I think. But Gigantic's a pretty good game, man. Have you played it? Off topic.
I did play some of the beta or demo, but now there is another aspect of Lawbreakers I wanted to touch on. I wanted to get your opinion on this. I think that LawBreakers is the most public disaster of a game I've ever witnessed. Like, for the most part, because we never really get sales figures for any game. Like, you look at Evil Within 2, and you know Evil Within 2 is not doing well, but you don't know, right? Because this industry hides the sales numbers. I can't think of another scenario out there for a game like Lawbreakers, which came out and there was articles about its player base every single week to the point where it was like there's 10 people playing this game. I can't think of another game that was this much of a public failure. Can you?
Well, people are saying No Man's Sky in chat, but No Man's Sky sold like 1 million copies and launched, didn't it? I think money-wise, No Man's Sky was probably a success. Yeah, it actually sold through. No Man's Sky did, because everyone believed the marketing, and there was no reviews, so nobody knew the truth about it until it was too late. So I don't know. Lawbreakers kind of reminds me of that other game, that old Bethesda game Brink, if you remember that. That was a huge flop, I think, but that was before the days of Steam Spy.
Oh, Brink.
So,
oh my God.
No Man's Sky has peak concurrent players of 2,000. No Man's Sky. So people saying No Man's Sky is a failure. It's actually doing pretty well.
No Man's Sky was a huge success. I mean, at least in the beginning.
Technically. I mean, it was like most high profile for marketing lies, but it seems to be doing pretty well. I mean, it's got about. I mean, if we compare it to Elite Dangerous has 10,000 players concurrent-ish per day. No Man's Sky is doing pretty well, I think. So, who knows?
So, do you kind of agree with my assessment that Lawbreakers is the most public failure of a game we've seen?
It is definitely this generation, I think. But then you've got Battleborn as well, which is also pretty bad. I think Lawbreakers and Battleborn are sort of tied, I would say.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Man, you know what's funny? Like, people, like, the funny thing is like, Lawbreakers was used as, like, console ammo, or console war ammo, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's on PlayStation, it's not on Xbox. But, like, nobody bought it anywhere, period. Nobody bought it on PlayStation, and nobody bought it on PC.
Well, it just goes to show you how small an audience the console warrior audience really is, Most people who buy games aren't arguing about consoles on the internet. They're just playing games, And they're the people who buy the games. They're the people who make the purchase decisions, and we all just get caught up in the silly fan arguments.
That is true.
An audience, really.
We are a fraction of a fraction, honestly.
A fraction of a fraction.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, like, loot boxes and all that stuff are, you have people, like, talking out about them, but, like, most people, like, they don't care. They don't care about loot boxes.
I saw a great screenshot about that the other day, Rand, where I was talking to someone about, because I saw on Reddit the other day, I've never seen a thread with 80,000 upvotes before.
80,000? Holy shit.
80,000 upvotes. And the thing is, it's algorithmic, right? So really, it probably has like 1 million upvotes, but it truncates the upvotes. So there isn't just a huge number. But I've never seen a thread with 80,000 upvotes before on Reddit. And it was on our gaming, and it was like, we need to boycott EA, right? So 80,000 people on the biggest video game subreddit were, well, even more than 80,000, but there was 80,000 upvotes saying we need to boycott EA. And then someone showed me a screen of like, it was like a Steam group called we need to boycott Modern Warfare 2 or something.
I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah. Because people wanted Modern Warfare 2 to have dedicated servers on PC, and it didn't, and people were like, boycott Modern Warfare 2. And then the screenshot was of the people in the Steam group, and like 75% of them were playing Modern Warfare 2. Like, they say they're going to boycott the game, but they don't fucking boycott the game. So, all these people that stuff, like, they end up buying them. I complain about loot boxes and I buy them. So
I have not bought I've never I've never bought a loot box with real money, and I never will.
Yes, you will. One
I
day.
won't. Never. Like,
You
I'll
never
use
put-
the in-game money if they give me it, but I've never spent my money on a loot box, and I never
Have you?
will.
But what if you play an Overwatch, right? And there's a really cute skin for Tracer, and you just think, man, I really want that skin for Tracer.
Yeah, but okay,
Like,
if I wanted it and if I could purchase it directly, like how you used to be able to, then maybe I
Time
would.
Vault it.
But you can't do that anymore. And I'm not
Do that in Time Vault too.
I'm not gambling. I'm not gambling at a chance to maybe get it.
Yeah.
So Cliffy, please just keep your mouth shut. Try fixing Lawbreakers. Maybe it does better, maybe it doesn't. But we all know Microsoft didn't feel offended and rejected because they turned you down. Maybe you feel offended and rejected, huh? Maybe he's talking about himself, Jez.
Hey, like he's projecting. He's projecting that he was offended and rejected.
Yeah.
It's so weird that he said that because, you know, it's not what happened. Like, does he expect the truth to not come out or something?
Oh, see, but the thing is, like, the truth will never, Microsoft will never come out and say the truth, because they're not about that, right? They're not going to come out and be like, oh, by the way, this is what happened. They'll just let it go. But then people like us,
it's beneath them, you know?
It is, but people like us know the truth. So, anyways, Cuphead, Jez. Cuphead. Million sold. Studio MDHR. Incredible. Game of the Year contender, I would imagine, right?
My friend's kid knows about Cuphead, and that's how I know it's a huge success. Because he's like 9 years old or something. So it's like, if the kids are aware of Cuphead because of the whole YouTube thing, in mainstream mindshare penetration, you know? So, kudos to Cuphead, man.
Kudos to Studio MDHR
but
for making...
I tell you what, Ran.
Yes.
If Cuphead wasn't on Steam, there is no way it'd be doing this well.
Oh, of course not. What? I mean, do you expect me to disagree with you?
Nope. I expect you to back me up and say that.
I mean, it's sold. It's sold what, 700,000 copies just on Steam? Of course. Of course, it's helping. I mean, they said it's over 1 million. They haven't. So I mean, it's not over 2 because otherwise they would have said 2. So I would imagine when they originally said it was over 1 million, I think it was at like 600,000 on Steam. I would imagine it's at 500,000 on Xbox right now, maybe a little bit more. I think the majority of the sales are on Steam though, because, well, Steam has more users than Xbox, right? I think that's kind of, is that a fair assessment?
Steam has more users than Xbox. You know what? I don't know if that's actually true.
Well, I know last quarter Valve came out and said that they had more monthly active users than Xbox did. And then PlayStation, did they come out and say they had more than Steam? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Well, Steam has somewhere in the region of 80 million accounts, whereas Xbox has somewhere about 50 million. But that also includes Xbox 360. And I don't know if that also includes users that are engaged on Windows 10 Xbox games. Because Microsoft do this thing where they pad the numbers using Windows 10. Like example, Bing is technically 35% of the world search market. But that's just because Bing powers things like the Xbox search engine and the Windows 10 search engine and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, you're kind of padding the numbers there, Microsoft, you know? So it's, Steam has a lot more than Xbox now.
No, I mean, but, you know, the game is successful. It's doing incredibly well, more than I thought. A game like this, a throwback to old school gaming, it's going to sell probably...
Amazing.
What would you think in the long run, Jez? 5 million in the long run?
Yeah,
when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's got a lot of traction on YouTube and on streaming sites and stuff like that. Kind of like Dark Souls, but Dark Souls, you know, doesn't achieve.
Well, this is the Dark Souls of platformers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's not like the main. Dark Souls is like, it's got all this mind share, but it doesn't have mainstream because it's a hard game and most casual people don't want to play it, but they're happy to watch it on streams and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. Maybe 5 million. Maybe like something between 3 to 5 million, I would think.
Yeah, which is great, and hopefully they make a lot of money. They make back the mortgage on their house that they quit their jobs. We get a sequel and all that good stuff. Now, do you call this? Because I've seen this debate on the internet. Is Cuphead an Xbox game?
Yes.
Even though it's on Steam, even though it's on GOG, even though it's going to sell more on Steam, you still think Cuphead is an Xbox game?
They're taking. I would think Xbox is taking a cut of Steam sales as part of the deal, because Microsoft have invested. They've invested real money into making Cuphead what it is. Cuphead was delayed because Microsoft gave it money to grow its scope. So, because of that, I would say it's an Xbox game, and I think Microsoft is taking a cut on the sales on Steam as part of. I would be very surprised, but I would imagine they are, because they have invested a huge amount of money in keeping it going for so long. It was 4 years worth, 4 years worth of development, longer. So, and also don't forget, Microsoft did the marketing. They had a huge launch party for it. The Cuphead guys didn't pay for that. Who paid for that? Xbox paid for that. So yeah, it is an Xbox game. It's totally an Xbox game.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with you in the sense that the game wouldn't exist in its current format without Microsoft, right? Like you said, Microsoft invested millions of dollars into the game. Well, I don't know about millions. They invested a lot of money into the game because originally the game was going to be like, from what I remember talking to the devs at E3 2015 or 2016, was this like going to be like 10 boss fights and that's it?
Yeah.
Right? It was just going to be 10 boss fights, but like they saw an opportunity to make it better. So now there's like 17 boss fights plus the final boss, plus like the casino level, plus the overworld, plus the run and gun stuff. So the game in its current form wouldn't be possible without Microsoft. So that's when I also think it's an Xbox game for those reasons. But I'm not one of those people who say, well, it's an Xbox exclusive. Well, I mean, see, I'm kind of torn on this because this goes to the whole like exclusive thing. Is something like Gears of War 4?
I mean, that's
well, yeah, it is. I think people should play this game regardless. If you have an Xbox, play Cuphead, and if you have PC, play it on Steam. Don't play it on Windows 10.
Don't play it on Windows 10. Windows 10 stories.
No, Barawara says Microsoft didn't give them anything. They had to mortgage their houses. That's not true. Microsoft invested lots of money into that game. Just because they had to mortgage their houses doesn't mean Microsoft didn't invest. Because they did invest.
They did invest.
It was quite a lot of money.
They mortgaged their houses to set up the studio. Microsoft funded them in front of Microsoft if they hadn't mortgaged their houses. They got off the ground by mortgaging their houses, but Microsoft helped them with development. So
yeah, I mean, I'm happy that the game is successful because there was a time I thought, like, man, is there any hype for this game? Because remember,
a lot of people were worried.
A lot of people were worried because they felt that the hype had died for the game. Since it had been so long since it was first announced, like 4 years, that people were like, oh, well, it's the same feeling people have with Below, right? Like, oh, it's been so long, I've lost the hype. But once those reviews started coming out, and it was 9s and 10s and 8.5s, and people saw how great it was, man, the hype went through the roof, and people just started buying it, so...
Yep.
That brings us to a good question, though. I just mentioned it below. When is Below coming out, Jez?
Now that's weird because I actually emailed those guys recently, like a few weeks ago, Capybara Games, about Below, and they didn't reply. And they said before that they weren't going to talk about Below again until they had a launch date locked in. And Capybara Games have been completely dark, off the radar, since they decided they didn't want to launch Below as it was. So it's it's a little bit worrying, but they're still tweets and stuff, and you know they haven't closed down or anything. They're just sort of all hands on, I guess, with Below. So I don't know. So I think it is going to
When do
come
you
out
think we
eventually.
get it?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think they can't take too long with it because they'll run out of money. But the weird thing about Below was that they took Below to E3 last year, and I think like they took some of the complaints from people who went hands on with it to heart, because a lot of people complaining about how hard it is to actually see, because the character on screen is super tiny, and it's really hard to actually see what you're doing a lot of the time. So I think they might have took the game's format back to the drawing board and maybe try and rethink some of the stuff that makes it less intuitive. And they, you know, they've gone dark. I don't know when it'll come out.
Next year, probably. You would think not that definitely not this year, right?
Definitely not this year. They'll if they've got a launch date locked in, it'll be another announcement at E3. I think probably as part of Microsoft's thing. So we'll have to wait and see, man.
Yeah.
I think if you don't see it at E3 next year, or maybe GDC or something, because they often announce indie games at GDC. I think the project might be
in some trouble.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That'd be a shame, though. That'd be a big shame.
It looked really good.
Anyways, so congrats to Studio MDHR. So what do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about EA? Evil EA? Oh man.
Evil.
EA. How evil can you be? Yeah, someone's calling, but oh well. Rand's not home. Let's see. So how do we go this? So Kotaku Random Stories, because Kotaku usually gets all these stuff, because Jason Schreier seems to be one of someone that people email the tips to or whatever. But Jason Schreier put out on Kotaku that EA was going to close down Visceral because they were working on Amy Hennig's new Star Wars game, right? And this just like blew up on the internet because people were like, "Is this the end of?" Single player games, is this, how could this happen? How could this happen to Amy Hennig twice? Because if you don't know, Amy Hennig was one of the big players in Naughty Dog, and she was like creative director of all the Uncharted's except the fourth one. And apparently the fourth one was like completely a mess until, damn, who currently runs Naughty Dog right now? I'm blanking on his name. They had to oust her from Naughty Dog because the project was such a mess. It's one of the reasons why that one took longer. And then so EA picked her up to write the Star Wars game for Visceral, and now this game was taken from her, so she had 2 games in a row taken from her. And it's got to be something terrible. But yeah, Neil Druckmann, there we go. Neil Druckmann, he, because he directed Last of Us. But Amy Hennig, I say her name wrong. I apologize. But so EA shut down Visceral Games, one of my favorite studios, and because they did Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2, which are absolutely fantastic action horror games. The sequel that Resident Evil 4 never got, basically. Like, those 2 games are absolutely incredible. Dead Space 3, not so much. The less said about it, the better. Dante's Inferno, they also did, is a pretty good game too. I actually enjoyed Dante's Inferno. And they also did Battlefield Hardline, which I enjoyed, although, it's not as good as the regular Battlefields. But yeah, this just kind of started a whole round of EA. This is what they do, Jez. I mean, what was your reaction to hearing this stuff? Because mine was pretty negative.
Well, I was just kind of sad, but I also had no surprise either. The original studio general manager, Steve Papustis, I think his name was.
Yes, yeah, Steve.
He left Visceral in 2015, after Battlefield Hardline sort of died. Well, I think EA said something like it failed to meet their expectations in their investor call, something like that. And he left EA after that, or was ousted, who knows. And so I think at that point, what we knew of Visceral Games sort of ceased to exist, and they just sort of became this studio that EA didn't really know what to do with. So they just sort of stuck them on a Star Wars game. Basically it felt like they're originally like this, almost like this horror producing studio. Like they made Dead Space and Dante's Inferno, and they had this amazing artwork. Some of the Dante's Inferno had such amazing artwork, some of the best artwork of the 360 era. Like even if the gameplay wasn't that amazing or unique, the artwork was just, and they were sort of pulled off these sort of creative projects, which kind of felt like they were in their element. Like Dead Space 1 and 2 were amazing games. Dead Space 2 had this sort of tacked on multiplayer mode, which you could sort of start smelling EA's influence on Visceral,
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what's this stupid, like weird Left 4 Dead sort of mode that didn't work properly and was just bad. It was just plain bad. So they had that mode. And then Dead Space 3 came out, which had some very early forms of micropayments for game modifying microtransactions, and co-op, which no one asked for, chest-high walls, which no one asked for, and human enemies, which no one asked for. And into something more mainstream like Dead Space of War, They tried to make it Gears of War, basically, but with horror overtones. So they killed that franchise. They made Battlefield Hardline, which was, it was pretty fun. I quite liked. There was a couple of modes I really liked, like blowing up the cars and stuff like that, but it didn't really have the staying power of a true Battlefield game made by DICE. And then they were on this Star Wars project. At that point, I think it was really at Hardline that I really stopped believing that Visceral had a future anyway, to be honest. I kind of felt like at that point they were just sort of like one of these EA studios that does what they're told, kind of like
I agree, because like after they basically canned Dead Space and then put them on Battlefield Hardline, I was like, all right, unless Hardline becomes this huge like sub franchise of Battlefield, they're done, right? And well, that's exactly what happened. Now, Jason Schreier did say that the game wasn't canceled. Because originally the Star Wars game was an action adventure linear story driven game, right? Which sounds amazing. Like an action adventure linear Star Wars game? Fuck yeah, sign me up, right?
Yeah.
But he says that the game wasn't canceled because it was single player, which kind of lends to the credence that the game wasn't shaping up at all, and that it was like a big the game just wasn't working, right? Because I've seen Polygon and other places, right? This is the beginning of the end for single player games. It's going to Dodo Bird, but like Nintendo, they constantly put out single player games. Sony, I mean, just look at Sony's lineup for the next 2 years. It's basically nothing but single player focused games with, I mean, Last of Us 2 is a single player game that has like tacked on multiplayer, or even though the multiplayer is supposed to be pretty good, but Sony's entire exclusive lineup for the next couple years is single player games, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft's is the only kind of publisher, or that has kind of, well, not publisher, but like a console owner that has kind of transitioned into games as a service. Although I guess you could say State of Decay 2 is a single player game, and so is Ori and the Blind Forest, or Ori and the Will of the Wisps. But a lot of the third party publishers, they are really going all out on games as a service. So people just assumed it was like, oh, this is, you just want to make this into a open world Star Wars game with loot boxes and stuff like that, when it may not have been the case, right?
Mm.
Jazz, you don't. I mean, do you not agree with the Nintendo and Sony making single player games though?
I think it's hard, you know. I think with Sony, what they're doing is they're kind of staying in their lane. I mean, can you imagine if Sony tried to, you know, switch not Bethesda, what am I talking about? Imagine if they tried to switch Uncharted into a games as a service. It just wouldn't work, you know.
Well,
Or
the multiplayer is full of games as a service stuff, though.
yeah, but I mean, if it was focused on that, you know, or The Last of Us, if that was game as a service and that sort of thing. I don't think like it's in those studios' DNA to not be making great single player games, and you know, it's some studios just that's what they are, you know, as kind of games, and they stick with it. And Sony are lucky because they've got some really great studios as part of their lineup, and they know what core gamers want, and they cater to those core gamers while they let the big publishers do the games as a service stuff. Because one of the things that I'm starting to feel like about games as a service, and this feeds into LawBreakers, what we were talking about recently, was there's only so much room for games as a service. Like any game that tries to compete with Overwatch directly is going to get destroyed. And that's the only games that do work against Overwatch in that sort of gameplay type are the free-to-play ones, you know? Like Paladin's free-to-play, so it doesn't compete directly with Overwatch, but there's no way it would compete if it was a premium game. There's just no way. And similar to World of Warcraft, you know? World of Warcraft is... You can't compete with it. No MMO competes with it, except Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn, and even that doesn't really compete with it on the same sort of level. But there isn't a single other subscription-based MMO out there because there's only so much room for games as a service. So I think what Sony are doing there is a smart thing, and they're saying like, okay, we'll let those guys stick to games as a service, and we'll provide these smaller experiences that people can enjoy in between the games as a service. Because I'm going to stop playing Overwatch to jump on play Wolfenstein 2, but after I'm done with Wolfenstein 2, I'll go back to Overwatch. There's not enough room for more games as a service, I think, and I think there's going to be a crash in the amount of games as a service that there can possibly be at any one time, because the industry is not big enough for more games as a service. And I think that's one of the problems Microsoft are going to have if they try this. Like Fable Legends, for example. Fable Legends was destined to come out at a time before the likes of Destiny came out and the likes of The Division came out, and you know, even Division couldn't get Destiny's model down properly, and a lot of games are
Destiny
chasing.
Can't even get Destiny's model down properly anymore.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, it's even Destiny's struggling with it. There's not enough room for all these different games as a service, and I think the industry is trying to work out what the best equilibrium is here. And I think Sony are probably smart, and they're thinking like, there's no point to compete with all these other services. We might as well just sort of in between experiences. And I think that's kind of why Cuphead has done so well as well, is because it's a cheap game you can play in between all those other services that you might be more engaged with, you know? So I don't know. I can't even remember what the original point was now.
I mean, we were just kind of talking about EA, but this is what they do, right? Look at BioWare. They are a shell of their former selves, right? Mass Effect is a dead franchise. You can list all the studios that they've shut down to Westwood, Pandemic. I mean, there's a whole list. You can just type into Google like studios EA shut down. There's like a list of 10 of them. And it was only a matter of time before Visceral got the axe. And when they originally said that this game was a story-driven, linear, you know, story-based game, they don't unless you're Bethesda or Sony or maybe even Nintendo, like you don't really see a lot of those games being made anymore. And Bethesda might have to change their strategy considering Evil Within 2 is gonna bomb, Dishonored 2 bombed, Prey bombed. Although I wouldn't really consider Prey isn't Evil Within 2 not really linear, but they're single player only. But
yeah,
the video game industry is changing. You know, into something different. And like you said, there's only enough room for so many games that are taking so much of your time. There can only be an Overwatch, a Rainbow Six, a Halo, a Gears, a Call of Duty. Like, when everybody tries to do this stuff, there's just not enough consumers to go around. That's pretty much your point, right?
Yeah.
There's just not enough of these people.
The industry needs to grow. The gaming audience needs to grow before they can fit in more of these sorts of games. And we'll get like loads of games one year and there'll be less the next year, so it fluctuates. And this is one of the reasons investors struggle with the video game industry. It's because it's volatile and they don't understand it. They think like, one of these companies that is providing stability by releasing the same game every year that does really well every year, year in, year out, and they've got steady income from the microtransactions and stuff, and that's a really great business model for them, and it's a really great business model for investors because they get that certainty. But with Bethesda, it's kind of like Bethesda up to this point, they've been games that they think are good, and they're like, yeah, I think Pete Hines said I can't remember the exact quote, but Pete Hines said something like, Bethesda's Pete Hines, he said something like, we just license games that we think are good. We don't really care about the sales and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it is a business, and if they keep putting out these games like Dishonored 2 and Prey and The Evil Within, all of which, by the way, are fucking great games and everyone should go and buy them. If they keep putting these games out and they don't make a return on their investment, then that's bad business,
Yeah.
They can't just rely on putting Skyrim on literally everything. But the thing is, they're even trying to turn Skyrim into a platform now. It's there's two models that the main studios are trying to chase now, and that's games as a service or games as a platform. And you got like Minecraft, which is a huge platform across every single device. The Bedrock version of the game has the mods in it that you can buy with real money and that sort of thing, and then you've got Bethesda doing a similar thing with Skyrim, putting it on every single platform with the paid mods and that sort of thing as well. So like, there's a lot of, they're either chasing this loot box model or they're chasing this sort of platform model where the mods can be monetized, and because they're starting to realize that we get into a point where people tend to just stick with one game unless a game comes along that's so good you just can't ignore it, like The Witcher 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2, and Cyberpunk 2077 is probably going to be this other sort of game that does something genuinely new. But those games are getting so much harder to create because they're so expensive. There's just not that much talent out there, and the people who are skilled enough to create those sorts of experiences now, it almost feels like Rockstar and CD Projekt Red almost have a monopoly on those sorts of games that create these cultural shifts. And maybe to an extent Nintendo, because Nintendo's IP is so powerful, more powerful than the consoles they make. So the industry is going through a period of transition, I think. And it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the Xbox One X does to weather this period of transition, because they're basically banking on the old model with the Xbox One X in a weird way. The idea that people will buy a new console for the pure reason that it's more powerful. I don't know if we're getting to a point where that isn't the way people play games anymore. I mean, like, look at Japan. In Japan now, it's all about these sort of brief mobile sort of experiences. The industry's scary, man. Next year's weird for games. I mean,
just next year's weird for games.
Not next year, the year after maybe, and the year after that. It's going to be like we've got some, like, there are some incredible looking single player experiences next year. Like Vampire. I'm really looking forward to that. That sort of traditional single player RPG that looks really good. And then you've got like Metro Exodus as well, single player sort of experience. I mean, we think it's single player anyway. If Metro has loot crates in it, I'm gonna cry.
What about are you looking forward to Sea of Thieves?
Actually, yes, I am really looking forward to Sea of Thieves. But I
Oh,
can't tell you why.
okay. I mean, Sea of Thieves is one of those games that, like, here's what I'm worried about Sea of Thieves in, right? Is that they're doing so many of these playtests that by the time the game actually comes out, everybody's gonna be like, already played this game for 50 hours.
But the thing is, I can't. Okay, I'll talk about it. The things that people are testing isn't the same as what they've got running internally.
I mean, I would assume so, or at least I would hope so.
Yeah. There's a lot more to Sea of Thieves, and we're gonna find out in the next.
So when do you think they're
after all the Xbox One X marketing dies down, they're gonna pivot and they're gonna start marketing 2018. We're gonna see a lot more from Sea of Thieves next year, and I think that's gonna start. People are gonna start realizing that Sea of Thieves is the real deal, I think.
So what is Xbox's lineup for next year? What is the games they're bringing?
Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, Crackdown 3, maybe a new Forza.
I mean, Forza Horizon, you would hope so, considering Forza Horizon 3 and how much that sold. I mean, you would think they would have to get Forza Horizon 4 out, right?
But those Playground guys, aren't they working on something else?
They are working on a new IP, AAA open world action adventure game. I was told it was their take on The Witcher.
Wow.
But I mean, they built a new studio though.
I hate that. When game developers say things like that, we want to take on The Witcher.
Well, no, they didn't say that. No. They never said that. That's just what I was told it was.
Okay. Some devs said that recently. I remember I reviewed a game and they were like, we want to take on The Witcher, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, man, if you're going to say that, you've got to back it up. And this game doesn't back it. I can't even remember what game it was.
So you would imagine Forza Horizon 4 because that game pays those guys' bills, basically, the Horizon series, to help fund the new studio. So you think Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, Crackdown 3, Forza Horizon 4.
Portal player says Ori.
Ori is 2019.
What about Metro? Is that next year? Well, that's
Metro
just a deal, right?
Yeah, Metro's multi-platform. I mean, Anthem's.
Benny says, Crystal Dynamics might be teasing a new Soul Reaver game.
Crystal Dynamics aren't they working on? They're working on their partnership with Marvel. They got the Marvel games and the Avenger games. I know that I think there's a new Tomb Raider game coming out next year from Eidos Montreal, but I can't imagine that being exclusive.
I don't think Ashen is next year. I think Ashen's 2019.
Yeah, and that's not exclusive anymore, right?
Well,
or maybe launch exclusive.
What I've heard about Ashen is that it's only being developed for Xbox right now, so it probably will come to PlayStation eventually. But it's going to be a timed exclusive for Xbox.
Right, so timed exclusive at launch. So
I have no plans for a PlayStation version, apparently.
So I want to talk about, because this kind of builds into the larger Xbox thing, is like, I'm sure you know that Master Chief Collection is getting fixed and they're bringing it to Xbox One X, right? They announced that a couple days ago. You already have Halo 5 getting the 4K stuff. The Halo Wars 2 crossplay, which happens next week, right? They said the end of October. Well, end of October is next week.
Wait, Halo Wars crossplay is next week?
If you go look on the Halo Waypoint blog, it says next week, the end of October.
Huh.
I mean, next week is the end of October, isn't it? Basically. I mean, the 31st is a Tuesday, 2 weeks from now or whatever. But yeah, I mean,
it's getting mouse support in before they did that.
Well, okay, so we could talk about that too. You wrote an article, I did a video about mouse support. Now, the official licensed keyboard and mouse thing from Hori comes out October 30th. It's $150. The Halo Wars stuff, that comes out. So are we looking at keyboard and mouse stuff coming really, really, really soon?
Well, there's a new Alpha Ring build going up this evening, and we were shown screenshots of the mouse controls on Xbox running on a. It's actually on the existing build, but you have to do something to unlock it. So the mouse support.
You have to plug in your mouse.
Nah, it's something more complicated than that. But it's mouse support's already there because you can use it for Minecraft. But I think they're gonna be expanding the API to let developers leverage it, because obviously they're not gonna let mouse and keyboard players compete against controller players on first-person shooters. So they've got to restrict those peripherals at an API level. So like, whereas in a co-op game like Minecraft, it doesn't matter. They don't need the API. But in a game that might have multiple playlists, like Gears of War, or Halo Wars 2, they need an API that will restrict those peripherals based on what playlist you're in. So I think they just need to finish those systems first. And I reckon they'll showcase that with Halo Wars 2, because a dude with a mouse will absolutely, completely destroy someone with a controller, even worse than the first-person shooter, probably. So
it makes me wonder if PUBG is going to have a keyboard and mouse option on Xbox.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
That'll rope in PC players who want to play them more powerful.
As for updates, we have keyboard and mouse coming soon. You would also imagine that digital game gifting is coming before the holidays, right? Because that would be a huge mistake if digital game gifting's not there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As well as OG back compat for Xbox, because Phil said still on track for this year. I'm assuming that's going to launch on the 15th of November.
Well, right? OG Xbox games have started appearing on the database now.
I did see that. They're on the website. Yeah.
So I think that's in the next update wave.
But I mean, it'll probably officially launch to everybody, I would imagine, November 15th, which is like the anniversary of Xbox.
I'm going to buy you Soda Drinker Pro when...
I already own Soda Drinker Pro, Jazz.
Oh, shit.
You forget, I own like almost every Xbox game. My collection's over like 1,000 games.
Oh.
I mean, there's some I don't own. I mean, you can buy me Evil Within 2, or, you know, if you just ask me, Brian, what game do you want? And I'll give you a list of the games I don't have. How's that?
Okay. I wonder if, like, when game gifting comes, if we'll be able to buy the key. Because I'll just buy 100 keys for Soda Drinker Pro and put them in chat.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Portal Player wants to know if I get these games for free. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them I do now. I mean, that wasn't always the case, but developers send me games for free to cover on my channel, which I do, you know. And Jez gets all these games for free too. So, hell, he gets more games for free than I do.
Who?
You.
No, I do not.
I paid for Shadow of War. Did you get a review copy?
I paid for Shadow of War, and I got a review copy.
So you got a review copy. Okay.
But I didn't get one. I got a review copy like 3 days late, so I just bought it. But I invoiced it to my company, so I suppose I still got it.
I'm paying for Assassin's Creed. I paid for you, South Park. I paid for Wolfenstein, and I paid for Assassin's Creed. Did you?
No.
Exactly. So Jez gets way more stuff than I do, guys.
Yeah, it's a living nightmare.
Anyways, I wanted to bring this
thing I got for free around is what I'm using right now. Can you hear this?
What, your fart?
No, this.
I mean, kind of. What is it?
It's a Sea of Thieves fidget spinner.
Ooh, Sea of Thieves fidget spinner. But the reason I brought up Microsoft's thing next year is because I want to specifically talk about Halo for a second. So we both think Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, Crackdown 3, Forza Horizon 4. Even though Forza Horizon 4 was not announced yet, I think that is 100% going to happen. So you can, those 4 games, right? I think Ori 2 is 2019 at the earliest. Now, next year should be a Halo year. 3-year dev cycle. However, they're being extremely quiet. Even Bonnie Ross has come out and said it'll be a while before they talk about the next Halo, right? Now, with them updating Halo 5 to 4K, with them going back and fixing Halo Master Chief Collection and then probably bringing those games to 4K or as hard as they can go, does that lead credence that Halo 6 is probably not coming out to 2019? I mean, I know I know the Master Chief team that is fixing that game is a small dedicated team at 343, but the fact that they've been both Phil and Bonnie Ross has repeatedly said it is going to be a while before we talk about Halo 6 makes me think Halo 6 might not come out till 2019. Like, they'll show it at E3 this year and it'll be released 2019. What do you think?
I agree. I think we're still a ways off. I think it's 2019.
Do you think that's a mistake?
No, because if they release another subpar Halo game, it's going to hurt the brand. And that's what they did with Halo 5. I actually think Halo 5 might have been the most successful Halo of all time because of reg packs. But I actually think Halo 5 hurt the brand because the campaign was so bad. So I think they're going to take their time and get this right and try and get Halo back to where it deserves to be, which is on top. So,
look at Jez with the super chat.
Oh my God, it didn't work. Whoa. I added a code. I added a code to that super chat and it didn't work. I just super chatted for no reason.
You super chatted super chat again?
No.
What was supposed to be the code?
It was a code for a game.
Oh, what game was it?
Video game.
Well, what video game?
Secret.
Oh.
I'm just going to post it in chat instead. There we go.
You know what I always do when I post? I always use now don't do the last one, Jez. Come on. Because the last one is literally always the same digit. It's always the same one. Well, I mean, somebody's going to know. Make sure you thank Jez for the code. I wonder, what game is that?
It's Rogue Trooper Redux.
Ooh, nice. That game came out this week. So you don't think it's a mistake Halo would skip this year and come out next year?
I think it's critical that the game is amazing.
I agree with you that it's critical that the game is amazing. Now, are you saying that 343 can't make an amazing game in 3 years, that they have to have 4 years?
That's what it needs. I don't know. And, 343's attention has been kind of split across Halo Wars 2. And yeah, I know Creative Assembly did the bulk of the work, but a lot of the work was done at 343 as well. So, congrats, Cyrus Burke. I can't believe I super chatted you for no reason, man.
I mean, you should, considering every time you get a free game, you always tell me about it, and I always got to pay for it.
Well, the thing is, Rand, I deserve free games, right?
Okay.
Because I didn't cheat my way to a million gamer score by playing Barbie.
Sir, yeah, TXR podcast YouTube channel was deleted. Doc Cupcake said he accidentally deleted it, but yeah, it's gone forever, completely gone. All those memories and all that hard work down the shitter, down the tube, gone forever.
That's a shame.
Yeah. I agree with you that the next Halo game has to be amazing, and not just from multiplayer perspective, but it has to be amazing from a single player perspective. So I agree with you on that. And
the Flood needs to come back.
Yeah,
and Atriox needs to be a main character.
Yeah. So I agree with you on all that. Now, do you think any of this has to do with, because if you push Halo, I think it also pushes Gears, right? Because both me and you agree that they're not releasing a Halo and a Gears in the same year, right?
Oh, hell no.
So if Halo's 2019, that means Gears 5 is 2020, right?
Yes, I think so.
Now, could this also be kind of lining up games to go against PS5? Because rumors has it PS5's 2019 or 2020. If it's 2019, there's a new Halo game coming out. If it's 2020, there's a new Gears game coming out. There's definitely no new PlayStation next year.
What if there's a new Xbox coming out in 2020?
Oh, if PlayStation 5 is 2019, I guarantee you there's a new Xbox in 2020. Guaranteed.
I don't know, man.
Guaranteed, dude. Like, because if PlayStation launches in 2 years, that thing's going to be 10 teraflops. that thing's going to have more RAM than the Xbox One X. Sony will then crow about the power that Microsoft is currently doing right now, right? They'll have full backwards compatibility with all the PS4 games and how it's all going to run better on a system level. So Microsoft will be on the outside looking in. So of course, and you already know this because you reported it yourself, planning for the next Xbox is already in progress. So if Sony has a system ready for 2019, Microsoft will have a system ready for 2020. And Microsoft will have the power advantage for a couple years until the PS5 Pro.
PS5 Pro.
I mean,
oh my god.
I just can't see a scenario where Sony releases a new console that is going to be significantly better than the Xbox One X, and Microsoft just sits there and does nothing.
I think we're heading for strange times for Xbox.
You think so?
I think
strange times.
I don't know. I think they'll always release more powerful Xboxes, but I think like the time of Microsoft trying to do some kind of paradigm shift is coming.
What do you mean by that?
I think we're going to get some kind of mobile Xbox eventually, or some kind of cloud streaming thing, and maybe put the emphasis back on PC. I don't know, man. As UWP matures, and yeah, UWP might not be that great right now, but in like, you have to presume in 3 years, UWP is matured and it's actually become a really good platform by then. At that point, you could theoretically have Xbox games running on any kind of hardware. But not only that, Rand, but there's something called Seashell in the works, which means theoretically you could have the Xbox operating system running on any. So if Sony comes out with a 10 teraflop, 10 teraflop PlayStation 5, maybe HP makes their own Xbox, or Dell makes their own Xbox that's 15 teraflops, you know? And all of a sudden, the Xbox ecosystem becomes more like a PC. I think there's some kind of paradigm shift coming for Xbox, and it's going to be Windows-shaped. And
you're killing me,
I don't
Jazz.
know. I have no evidence for that. It's just a feeling I've got.
You're killing me, Jazz.
Seashell, WinCore, and the things they're working on with Windows. Why am I killing you? Because it's not gonna change anything.
Well, Daniel says he super chatted $2 and says, I thought Microsoft was done with next gen consoles. Now they've never said that, and Jazz himself reported on Windows Central that work on the next console has already begun. You know, because these things take time.
What would they be done with next gen consoles? That makes no sense.
Now, there's another Xbox. I agree with you that a paradigm... okay, say that word again for me. I know the word. I just have trouble saying it sometimes. There is a shift coming. I just don't think it's in 3 years. I think we're more talking 7 years down the road. And yeah, I also agree that the final solution that Microsoft and Sony want is basically a Hulu stick, right? Where you plug into your TV and you basically stream games from Xbox and PlayStation. So they don't have to sell you that $500 or $400 hardware. All they got to do is sell you this $100 or $50 stick, and you don't own anything anymore. Everything's digital. Everything is, you don't even buy games from them. You basically rent games from a server from them. I think that is the ultimate goal 10 years from now. But like, I can't see what you're saying happening 3 years from now. I think there's going to be an Xbox One XX in 2020,
yeah,
2021.
Yeah, I agree. I think there'll be at least one more console upgrade for both systems, maybe two. Maybe like there's an Xbox One XX and a PlayStation 5 Pro, and maybe then we get this paradigm shift where everything goes digital. We stream everything, internet speeds fast enough, blah blah blah. Or maybe World War III will happen, Rand, and we'll all be dead.
Yeah, that is possible. That is definitely possible.
It might not even be broadband, man. I mean, there's all sorts of crazy stuff being worked on right now, like 5G internet speeds, which are supposed to be like 40 times faster than 4G. So like, an eSIMs are coming where you don't even need a SIM card for your phone. You can literally just connect your phone to 5G network, log in with an email address, and you can rent an eSIM from Microsoft, and just connect to anything you want without a SIM card, and any device without a SIM card. We're moving to a SIM card less world, and your next Xbox will probably be a stick that you plug into a TV that has an eSIM in it and connects to a 5G wireless network that blankets the whole world. And SpaceX are working on a global sort of satellite internet system as well, where the whole world is like encaged in satellite internet.
Yeah.
So there is a paradigm shift coming, and that's why Microsoft are so invested in the cloud right now, is because they know that ubiquitous internet is coming. Everywhere will have high-speed internet eventually, if World War III doesn't kill us all.
So back to the lineup for next year. Do you see Microsoft putting out Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, and Crackdown 3 before E3? Like all three games are currently scheduled for early 2018, which means before E3.
I think if I was them, I would delay Sea of Thieves to the fall.
Ooh.
After what I've seen, I would put Sea of Thieves up against the big ticket items, because I think Sea of Thieves is going to be a really big deal.
Okay, so that's what you think, but what do you think is going? Like, I know that's what you would recommend them do, but what do you think is actually going to happen?
I think that's what I think is going to happen. I think Crackdown and State will launch in a similar time frame, and I think Sea of Thieves will get pushed to late summer maybe.
But you don't think all three of them release before E3, right?
No,
either do I. I'm just not sure which one gets delayed, right?
Sea of Thieves gets delayed. Definitely.
See, I think I think it's Crackdown or State of Decay gets delayed.
I don't think so.
Okay, but like the whole I next year there are some big games coming out early next year. You got Far Cry you want to avoid. You got God of War you want to avoid. You got Red Dead Redemption 2 you want to avoid. Spider-Man you want to avoid. There are bigger games and whatever Nintendo's got coming out next year. I mean, Sea of Thieves.
I don't think you want to avoid those games.
Yeah, I think you do, man. I think you do.
I don't think you want to avoid God of War because it's exclusive. Xbox gamers can't play God of War, so give them something to play.
Yeah, but
everyone's playing God of War.
I
would put State of Decay. I would put State of Decay up against God of War.
I wouldn't, because nobody's gonna buy. Like, are you implying that?
No, Xbox fans gonna buy God.
Yeah, but how? Okay, but I have both systems. If that's the case, I'm playing and buying God of War and not giving a shit about State of Decay.
I'd play State of Decay afterwards because I'm still playing State of Decay, and I say, Rand, I want to play State of Decay with you. Buy it.
I mean, we
so
could
play full play co-op. It's a different kind of game. I think that's fine.
I feel release dates matter though, and I feel like you want to at least try to get your game out there with as least competition as possible, so there's more money.
Can't do that.
Yes,
there's never a perfect time.
I mean, you're right, but you want to put it in. You want to give the game the best chance to succeed. Launching it against God of War, in my opinion, is not the best way to make a game succeed. Right?
So much against an exclusive. I can't believe I gave you £10 for no reason.
Yeah, it's because you love me, Jess. Come on now. Don't worry, YouTube takes all of it anyways.
Okay, with that £10, Rand, you have to buy some Overwatch loot crates.
Oh, here, but I just said I would never do that.
Well, I want you to.
Man, I'll buy a game. We can play together. What game do you want to play?
Halo Wars Awakening the Nightmare.
Oh my god. I watched you play that with Robin. You guys failed every single mission.
Dude, we completed the campaign.
Yeah.
Terminus Firefight is awesome in Halo Wars 2. I'm sorry. It's awesome. It's like tower defense, fighting the flood. It's great, man. So
I don't know. I think you might be right. I think but when did they launch Sea of Thieves though? Are we talking they launched that stuff in November, October, or are they launching that late August, maybe September-ish?
I'd stick it in the Destiny slot, man. Set like September,
early September,
late August. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that could be a good slot. I mean, not a lot of games come out early September. That would be fine. I just don't agree with it putting it in November or like October. You know?
No. I'd put it.
Sea of Thieves is a special game. It needs as much marketing. It needs a good window. It needs It needs like everybody talking about it. And if you put it around other games, yeah, I mean, okay, if early September Destiny slot, I'll give you that. And then you could have Forza Horizon 4 come out in October.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. Sea of Thieves is going to be great.
I'm not saying it's not.
I can't talk about it. It's really pissing me off. But I saw things. Sea of Thieves recently. I can't talk about it, but I already feel addicted. I feel addicted to that game.
I think Sea of Thieves is going to be fine. I'm just kind of curious when they're going to release it. Now the Halo thing is a little more. I agree with you. Halo needs to be amazing because I think you're right. I think another kind of middling Halo game, and the franchise may never recover. I mean, the franchise is never going to be what it was when Halo 3 came out, right? I think we both can agree on that.
It can be if they put the Flood in it and they put Atriox in it.
Okay.
And a new Gravemind, then it can be.
And a new Gravemind.
And make it 18 rated and give Master Chief a chainsaw. Okay. Basically, make it Doom, but with the Flood.
So are you saying next year's exclusives lineup for Microsoft is going to be Sea of Thieves and Forza Horizon 4, basically?
Well, we don't know about Forza Horizon 4 because what if that dev is fully occupied trying to take on The Witcher?
And so you're saying there's going to be no Forza after Forza Horizon 3, after the insane success that Forza Horizon 3 saw, it would be monumentally stupid not to have Forza Horizon 4 come out next year.
Well, maybe the dev doesn't want to make it. You have to remember these guys. Yeah, there's a business angle, but these guys are also artists. If they're sick of making Forza every year, maybe they're just like, yeah, we want to make a different game.
No, because they purposefully opened up a new studio and hired a bunch of new people to work on that new IP. I guarantee you they're working on Forza Horizon 4 because what else is going to be paying the bills?
What do you do with Forza Horizon 4? Where'd you set it?
Brazil? Japan?
No. England. It could be Forza in England, and you have to navigate London traffic.
No.
Yes, it'd be great.
No.
And like you can.
I mean, I think it'll be set
into the. You can drive on the train tracks and drive along the tube to avoid the cars. I don't know.
Anyways,
Taurus, Japan, Tokyo, Neo Tokyo. Set it in the future, like Akira. That'd be class.
Rand, Connor Doyle says, Rand, your State of Decay 2 slander is too much. You sleeping on it, nobody gets what makes it special until you play it. I have friends like my buddy Mr. Black Magic who have played State of Decay and say the same thing. It's an amazing game. Dude, it's janky. It looks janky. State of
Decay 1 was basically a concept game built on an engine that wasn't designed for that kind of game. State of Decay 2 is going to be great.
And look, I don't slander it. It just doesn't interest me at this point in time.
You are slandering it, man.
I'm not slandering it. How is that slander? What they have shown of State of Decay 2 doesn't make me interested in the game currently. Make a better trailer. Show some. I don't know. Do your job. Basically, market the game. I don't know.
They're an indie studio.
Microsoft isn't. Microsoft is publishing that game. They're not an indie studio. But of course, why would they market it now? Because it's not coming out till next year. So maybe we'll see more of that next year.
Microsoft always markets the wrong thing, man. Like they marketed Gears of War instead of Forza last year, which is funny.
Yeah.
I think they should market me, and then everyone comes to me and listens to me, and I'll just tell people what to buy, and then they won't have to do any marketing.
And then I'll just tell people what you're going to give the score of the game before you actually write it because I know you that well.
Did you know I was going to give Shadow of War 7?
No, but State of Decay 2, I already know your review is going to be 5 out of 5.
You don't know that.
I know that. And Sea of Thieves, 5 out of 5.
If you read my preview of State of Decay 2, you'd know that I was disappointed in the fact that it was all the same as the first one.
So anyways, you mentioned Shadow of War, so let's get into SoupyGate.
SoupyGate.
Yeah.
First of all, Rand, before we get into SoupyGate, predict my Wolfenstein review score.
5 out of 5. I mean, come on. You're going to punch Nazis in the face. How much better can it get?
You don't just punch them, you stab them and throw axes into their face.
Dude, and this one goes out to my buddy Lovebug Gopher currently watching. The ad campaign for Wolfenstein 2 has been the best ad campaign I've seen in a long time.
Oh, yeah. It is great. I love it.
Oh, man.
It's so funny. So much salt.
So good.
From each
so good.
Strand.
So,
Gopher says don't do it.
I know he does. He gets upset when I retweet the Wolfenstein marketing stuff.
Why?
You know, he's very much like yeah. You'd have to ask him, but Shadow of War looks like soup on PlayStation Pro.
Looks like soup.
It looks like soup. They called it soupy textures on the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Soupy textures.
SoupyGate, yeah. So the first kind of official digital Foundry face-off for an Xbox One X versus PlayStation 4. You know, a lot of Xbox gamers were looking forward to this, you know, because they were like ready to pounce, being like, we've taken this crap for 4 years, and you know, like it's our turn now, it's our time now, and yeah, like it was based on a Gamescom build of Shadow of War that they played, so not even the final version of the game, and there was a lot of noticeable differences between both versions. The textures looked a lot better on the X, as they should be. I mean, the system is way more powerful, and it came out a year later and is more expensive. So,
Rand, don't you think because Xbox had the marketing deal that they purposely made the PlayStation version look worse?
I don't believe that, because I think Destiny 2 on November
that.
7th is going to look way better than the Pro version. And so is Call of Duty.
Ooh.
So.
But what about Soda Drinker Pro Round?
Oh, Soda Drinker Pro is going to be on next level. It's going to be next level stuff.
I'm going to tweet the dev and ask him if he'll do a 4K update. Do you think he would? It was so funny if there was a 4K update of Soda Drinker Pro.
Yeah. So
anyway,
this was... I want to, like, because this was an alpha build. There was, like, I guess, in a battle where the frame rate did drop to, like, 24 frames. But for the most part, it always stayed at 30. But it's alpha build, or at least a build from Gamescom, which, you know, was an older build. So we'll have to see what it is final. But, man, PlayStation is about to lose, like, every single one of these face-offs.
Oh, no.
I know. The question is, you know, a lot of people out there do care about this. I mean, all you got to do is just go to the NeoGAF thread and read, like, the people talk. Like, there are people legitimately hurt that the Xbox One X version is superior to the PlayStation 4 Pro version.
Why? Why?
I don't know, because they invested a lot of their self-worth into a console. I would guess.
They knew the X was coming. They knew it was 6 teraflops. Why? It's crazy. I don't know, man. Hello? Hello? Oh, guys, we have lost Rand. I think Rand got so mad about NeoGAF that he spontaneously combusted. So...
Who spontaneously combusted?
Oh, no, he's still here.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I just had to mute the mic for a second. But yeah, dude, people like NeoGAF is... I love NeoGAF because I love just seeing the whole different sides of everything. But that Shadow of War thread, people is losing their mind. The Gran Turismo Metacritic thread, oh my God.
Gran Turismo doing Metacritic?
Currently, it's like a 76.
Oh, why? Or is it not good?
I would guess are not as good as the previous Gran Turismos, or not as good as Forza. You know,
how did Forza 7 do?
I think Forza 7 is like an 86 right now, or an 85 or something. I mean, I don't know. Did you heard that Gran Turismo Sport is basically doesn't work when offline, right?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Like you can't buy cars
I saw
offline.
something like
You can't do the single player offline. You can't earn credits offline.
the dev said something like, "We removed career mode because people don't like cars or something."
Yeah, I mean the game. I mean I've seen videos of it. The game looks gorgeous, but there's not a lot of content. And I know J Dubs is watching this, and you know he's got a pretty cool set. But I did tell you, J Dubs, that Forza was going to do better on Metacritic than Gran Turismo. So you know I did say that would happen. I didn't think it would be this big of a disparity because I predicted 88 for Forza and 83 for Gran Turismo. So they kind of both came in under my prediction. So
you're just pessimistic.
No, I'm not pessimistic. I mean, I guess I was over. I mean, I expected better, I guess. Yeah. So it's just kind of been funny seeing the reactions to Shadow of War and seeing the reactions to Gran Turismo.
I can't read NeoGAF, man, because I lose IQ points every time I go there.
I've been on NeoGAF since like 2005. So
there's some people there who post like really thoughtful information and they work really hard to try and inform people. And there's other people there who are willfully stupid. Like they ignore the facts, they make up their own facts, spout conspiracy theories and stuff. It's just hilarious. Like,
hey, it's almost like, I mean, but that exists everywhere. Xbox fans, PlayStation fans, Trump supporters, Hillary Clinton supporters.
Yeah, but you don't have to view it on Twitter. You can unfollow people. If you're going through a whole thread on NeoGAF, you have to read every stupid.
Well, no, because you can mute people on NeoGAF.
Oh, can you? I should say.
Yeah, like if you in your account, you can just, if you never want to see a post from such and such, you just you mute them and you never see anything from that guy. I mean, of course, you got to be logged in and all that stuff, but yeah. So it's gonna be when the X is out and we start seeing comparisons for all the other games. It's gonna be a bloodbath. And some people aren't going to be able to take that. They're going to cry and complain. But, I mean, we knew this was going to happen.
Well, someone in chat just noted the Hunter Call of the Wild has no Xbox One X support, man.
Yeah, but I think they just came out and said that it will. So, I don't know.
Oh, dear.
Now, Jazz, before we end the show, I wanted to talk to you about this Shannon Loftus interview. Specifically, this question they asked her. Okay, so Game Informer had this interview with her, and they asked her this question, which I think is kind of important. They asked, "We got Halo on the original Xbox and Gears of War with Xbox 360. Do you think that you've added an iconic IP of that caliber in the Xbox One generation?" You know, we've talked about this before, right? But this was her response. She says, "Wow, that's an interesting question. IP, in my observation, seems to be developing a little bit differently this gen than they did in the previous gens. In the previous gens, you had these massive blockbuster hits that a lot of time were kind of telegraphed upfront by the budget that was spent on them, and people would wait out in line to get the game and everything. But there's an incredible amount of content right now that moves through every single gaming system, whether it's Steam, PlayStation, Apple. And it's harder and harder for gamers to know where the quality is going to come from. Some of the biggest hits of today actually started really small. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is a great example of a game that didn't launch with a massive marketing campaign or anything like that. Here's the interesting stuff." She goes, "And we have a few IPs that my team brought to the table over the last generation. I think Quantum Break is a really good example of a world and a phenomenon." So she used the word phenomenon and Quantum Break in the same sentence, where there's still a lot of story that we can tell. And then she says, "Announcing Record Definitive Edition was a little bit of a signal to people that got into the world of Far Eden and fell in love with these characters, that we believe that's an IP with a lot of legs. I think that the key to developing these IP into something really special and something really monumental is sticking with them." Now, I like Quantum Break. I wish we were getting Quantum Break 2. But if there's a word I would use to not describe Quantum Break, that word is phenomenon.
Well, the thing is, phenomenon just means happening. It doesn't mean amazing. Like you
not in my definition.
No, the real life definition of phenomenon is like I can say, oh, look at that interesting cloud phenomenon, and it might just be a cloud shaped like a Pokemon or something. It doesn't mean it's amazing. It's just like that's something that happened.
Okay, I'm googling the definition. Okay, so phenomenon says a fact or situation that is observed to exist or happen, especially one whose cause or explanation is in question.
Dude, I'm a writer. Come on.
But dude, I mean, so she says it's a phenomenon because Quantum Break happened. I mean, that's basically what she's saying.
Oh, what she's saying is that we've experienced this happen with Quantum Break, where we've built a game that has a potential rich world of things to tell. Basically, what she's saying is that there's lots they could do with Quantum Break as an IP. That's what she's saying. And Quantum Break was frustratingly open-ended at the end. There was so many unanswered questions, like Lance Reddick's character. I can't remember his name. What was his name? The CEO guy. I don't know. I can't remember his name. But you know, it was like, what is his deal? You know, like the last level had so many mysteries, and they could do a lot with that if they equal. But that's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen without Remedy. That's
right. Sure. So I mean, I feel it's kind of, why bring up Quantum Break if you're never going to do a sequel to the game?
Well, because she answered the question.
I understand you have to give the IP. Yeah, I get it. Recore,
he likes the game. That's basically.
But here's the thing: are these IPs iconic in any sense of the word? Is Recore or Quantum Break iconic, or on the level of Halo and Gears?
No.
Right.
I mean, Martin Hatch. That's his name, Martin Hatch. Thanks, Ed Torres.
So,
but
I kind of find that interesting.
Well, put it this way: for me, the iconic. I mean, it's different for everyone. For me, the iconic games of Xbox for me this gen isn't Halo, because I thought Halo 5 was bad. So for me, it's like Gears 4, which I really liked.
For me, it's Ori and the Blind Forest.
Well, yeah, but then again, is Ori and the Blind Forest owned by Microsoft though?
Yes.
Or just published?
No, Microsoft owns the Ori IP.
So they own Moon Studios though?
No, Moon Studios is independent.
Right. So I guess Ori and the Blind Forest would also be one, but you know, Rise as well for me. I mean, people hated Rise, but I was like, man, I would have loved to have seen Rise grow into be a pillar franchise for
me too.
Xbox, like God of War. You know, I mean, Rise 1 had loads of problems, but it was also retrofitted from a Kinect game. So like Rise 2, you have to expect would be a more focused title, and I would have loved to have seen that game get legs. But what's she going to say? That the Xbox has no iconic games this year?
From a marketing thing, I get, of course, she's going to mention stuff, but like this kind of highlights, I mean, how kind of sparse this generation has been of, like you mentioned Halo, you got Halo and you got Gears from the previous two. You really haven't added to that collection. I mean, I guess it's possible Recore 2 can become something like that, right? Because
Forza Horizon sort of
true,
sort of re-rose to
right. You could add, but then Forza Horizon actually started last gen, right?
True.
So that kind of doesn't fit the question. Like you would imagine maybe in a different universe, Sunset Overdrive is that, you know, game. Possibly Rise is that game. Quantum Break is that game, but it didn't happen. So
yeah, it's Ori and Cuphead really of the new games that are really the big heavy hitters.
Yeah, they're $20 basically indie games. You know, so it's kind of like all right.
But I mean, it's no secret that PlayStation have been, as a platform holder, PlayStation has done better with no IP this gen. Horizon Zero Dawn was like a big surprise, I think, for a lot of people. But it's not like Sony has had it plain sailing either. I mean, The Order got panned, and you know, we're seeing Gran Turismo falling from grace as well. Because when I was a kid, man, everyone loved Gran Turismo on PlayStation. It's sort of fallen out of that sort of that. It's fallen from that level, hasn't it? So I do think Microsoft Studios isn't defining gaming as much as defining gaming IP as much as they used to. But and what can they do? I mean, they've had struggles with it, and also Microsoft have had a lot of internal changes. They were under Terry Myerson as well, which I think was a bottleneck. So I don't know. I just kind of want to see where they go from here.
Yeah, so do I.
The story of Xbox One is far from over.
It's far from finished. It's not. The book of Xbox has not been written.
Yeah, this is sort of like The Empire Strikes Back. Everything gets a bit dark, and you just sort of waiting to see what happens. And I think now that Phil is on that executive level, answering to Satya Nadella, I do think that they're gonna get back on top and pushing for games that the core gamers want. And I do think that filling in the gaps is going to be a good thing, where these big publishers, let them have the service industry. Make these smaller games that people can enjoy in between that stuff. Because like Inside, for example, someone mentioned Inside in chat. It's like Inside was great because I was like play Inside and then I could go back to Overwatch. A few hours experience.
Everything always comes back to Overwatch for you.
Well, Overwatch is a good game, man. It's got waifus and husbandos in it.
Yeah. But on that note, we're gonna end the podcast. Sorry for no questions today. We'll make sure to take some next week, but we had a lot to talk about. So yeah, if you enjoyed the podcast, we had like 250, 260 people. Make sure you hit the like button before you go. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the subscribe button if this is your first time here, or if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet. Make sure you follow Jez on Twitter. Jez, what do you got going on for the rest of the week? Any more articles coming out?
Well, next week I'm going to be writing a preview of Wolfenstein II early next week, so look out for that ahead of the review. I'm going to also be reviewing Wolfenstein 2 next week, so look out for that. I'm also going to write a review of the Fall Creators update for Xbox, the dashboard update, and talk about what I think was good, what I think was bad, what I think needs improvement, and that sort of thing. And then I'm moving back to Germany at the end of next week, man. So I'll be back to 10 o'clock for me. Again when we podcast.
Yeah. Well, then again, also, beginning of November, the time also goes back an hour here. So.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure you check out Jez's stuff on Windows Central. My next couple reviews are going to be, I don't know, Horizon Zero Dawn and South Park. Maybe a couple indie games as well I need to do some reviews for. But yeah, and then Wolfenstein, and then we got the Xbox One X stuff coming out. Exciting time to be around. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the show. Really do appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button before you go. And we will see you next Wednesday, back on a regular scheduled day, hopefully. Hopefully Jez feels better next week for episode number 29. And we will see you then. Thanks, guys.